Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. I know you are going to love this next interview. I know you're going to love our next guest. I was so impressed when I read what he has done. So let me start this way. We have in our community ARC, which used to stand for the Association for Retarded Citizens, and I apologize for not knowing what they changed it to. The word retarded has since become politically incorrect, and I understand why, but I apologize. I just can't remember what the new acronym is, but it's still ARC, and they still do wonderful things. And one of the wonderful things they do is they take mentally disadvantaged people and they train them so that they can be in the workplace. And in many cases, it's a hard sell because they'll go to a job, for example, introduce that person, the employer, to one of their clients, one of their students, and try to convince them that this would be a good worker for you. And sometimes they are real acceptable to that notion, and sometimes they're resistant to it. They're not sure. We've had in the studio Troy Strada from ARC, who has told us a couple of really cool stories. One I'll just retell very quickly about a young man who got a job, I believe, somewhere around here, and every day, rain, there was no snow around here, but rain, it could be really cold, it could be bad weather. He'd be out on his bicycle, this young man, going to his job, reporting for duty, whatever he did. I can't remember what he did. It was somewhere around here near the mall.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story?
Yes,
and so he had quite of a ride. It was not a short ride. But it is the work ethic, in addition to, of course, whatever skills he brought with him that he learned over at ARC, that was just so touching and so impressive. And it taught us all a big lesson when we heard that story. Our next guest is going to blow you away. Randy Lewis is his name. He has, and I hope I'm not embarrassing him, but I went through his credentials. You know, you have some people who say they went to Yale, they went to Harvard, and did all these. This man has been giving to us, to humanity, forever. He has a child, I think is Austin, is his son's name, who has autism. Randy himself is a Peace Corps volunteer. He's a Fortune 50 executive. He retired as Walgreens senior vice president, so he's a big shot with Walgreens.
Yeah.
He led Walgreens logistics division for 16 years that enabled Walgreens to grow from 1,500 to 8,000 stores. He's a best-selling author. His book is called No Greatness Without Goodness. What a great title. And the subtitle, listen to this, How a Father's Love Changed a Company and Sparked a Movement. There's way more to this than I've told you. That was just my kind of sloppy intro. Good morning, Randy Lewis. Nice to have you on. It's an honor to have you on.
Well, thanks, Larry. It's great to be here.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Chicago.
All right. How's the weather?
Well, the sun is up.
Oh, that's good. And was I correct? Austin is your son?
Yes, he is.
All right. How old is Austin right now?
Austin's 25.
25, okay. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. And, you know, even the title, No Greatness Without Goodness, it is really something I think most people embrace. I think when you hear about corruption, I don't think most people are corrupted or corruptible. But some people are, but I don't think most people are.
Well, I would agree with that. I think this tapped down into that deep longing inside of us to make a difference in that connection that we all have. That sometimes we don't reveal it so much on first encounter, but I think that and we just help surface that.
Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I think I'm right, and maybe it's something that I'm asking you to say that would make you feel uncomfortable. But did you always have this giving attitude? The prep material that was sent to me contradicts my intuition. My intuition says you've always been a giving person, but the prep material makes it seem like Austin suddenly changed you to be a giving person. Is that am I perceiving you correctly with my intuition?
I always like to give. I like to be a giving person on a big scale, one of these grand scale the things like because I went to the Peace Corps. I was brought up in that age where the the challenges of Kennedy into the future and the baby boomers. We had that optimism generally, but Austin really brought the issue home in ways I never knew. He exposed me to a world that, typically when people have a child with disability, they'll think one thing: that's those poor parents over there, and there's pity. And then there's the other thing: is that child going to be a problem? Or in a restaurant, people are reluctant to have you over because they're afraid that something's going to happen with the child.
Right.
I got to see all that when he was growing up, and then when he was looking for a job in high school, it really came home to play with me. That what these kids are facing is that he had interned at a place, and I asked his teachers how he had done. He said he did great. They loved him. He was making pizza dough, and he loved it, and they loved him. So when the summer came along, I called him up and I said, "Austin's off this summer, and I understand he did a great job." "Oh, yes, we loved him." I said, "Well, great. He'd love to work there this summer, and he'll work any hours you want him to work, all the hours nobody else wants to work, the late nights, the early mornings, any hours you want." And they said, "No, I don't think so."
Oh, no.
And then I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'll throw in a job coach for him, so you don't have to worry about extra supervision or anything." And they said, "No, I don't think that'll work." And I said, "And the job coach in Austin, and job coach will be for free.
And
in Austin can even be for free."
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
And what they say?
No, I don't think it's going to work.
That's crazy.
Oh, my gosh.
And why do you think? Why do you think they said that?
Well, it made me think about it because, as a parent, as an employer, I've come to conclude that people with disabilities die a death of 1,000 cuts, especially when it comes to employment. I know that as an employer.
Yeah.
They probably can't get through the application process. We have a lot of online tests that are hard to get through, or arithmetic. They may not be able to get through. They may not interview well. They may not have transportation. The hours may be different. They may talk differently, act differently, look differently.
Right.
And then I think the most unkindest cut is most of us believe that people with disabilities can't do the job. It's a great act of charity if you can afford it, but when it really gets down to it, that people don't perform, and that's what we were facing, and we wanted to break that paradigm.
And it's exactly the opposite from what I understand. I mentioned an organization in our town called ARC, and the way it was explained to me, or not explained, but told to me, is that it's exactly the opposite. The work ethic is unmatchable.
Yes.
Well, that's what we found. I mean, when we had experimented in our distribution centers working with high schools, and kids come out of the program, and to varying success because school systems are all different in their rules, and we weren't getting that many people who were that challenged, quite frankly. Everybody was they were keeping a lot of people behind because they didn't think they would be successful. So we see that problem even on the provider side sometimes.
Wow.
That was okay, and then we tried enclaves. I don't know if are y'all familiar with that?
No.
It's typically where you contract out some work in your plant or your factory or your office. The custodial, non-mission critical work, like maybe janitorial or something else. And we tried that, and that worked out very well. The team did a great job. However, they weren't part of us, even though that they may have had T-shirts like our team members and name badges. I remember one of our employees telling me one time on a visit, showing me a picture of the group, saying, "This is fantastic for us. This is a great group. It's great for us." And then I looking at the picture, and I saw her in it, and she must have seen me puzzling, and she said, "Oh, but I'm not one of them. I'm one of their sponsors." And it just broke my heart. It made me realize it was them versus us.
Oh.
Yeah. I see that. So, one of the things when you said enclave, I guess that's how you would describe. I don't know if you're familiar with a supermarket chain in the South called Publix.
Oh, yes.
But and it seems like they have that enclave concept with the. And please, if you're a bag person and you're not in this category, I don't mean to insult anybody, but it seems like a lot of the bag people that I see are perhaps from. And maybe I'm doing exactly right now what you don't like. I don't know. But you know what I mean? I'm apologizing to the people who are not what do you call special, handicapped, or whatever?
Mentally challenged.
Mentally challenged. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to be saying something bad. You actually started a full warehouse, though, correct?
Oh, certainly. Now, in the good folks at Publix, I spent a weekend with their head of their distribution centers, and they've come to see us, and I think they're going to do this.
Oh, so this is something new.
This would be something new for them.
But you've done it for how long?
We've been doing it. We opened this first center in 2007.
You know, there was a story, and this is from the Midwest, and a real quick story. There was, I think he had Down syndrome, a young man with Down syndrome, wanted to work at a farm, and because he was American, the farmer told him, I'm going to have to pay you minimum wage, so I really don't want to hire you because the illegal immigrants that come here will work for less. And law says that if you're a citizen, they have to pay you minimum wage. So I don't know if that was just his excuse to get the guy to go home or whatever, but it made the news, and we talked about it one morning. And I thought, isn't that a shame that it's all about the money always? I mean, you wouldn't. Does that happen a lot too? Well, you've got a handicap, so we're gonna pay you less.
Well, I've heard the range of things. Some people say I've been asked, should we pay people with disabilities the same? And in our case, we have the same performance standards, so why wouldn't we?
Yeah, right.
Everybody the same.
Right.
There's a whole range of issues around hiring people with disabilities. What we were taking the view is, there's a whole group of people with disabilities who can perform, who are just 3 inches below the surface, trying to get through all our process of finding and hiring them. If we could only just change that a bit, we could open the doors to this group who can perform and demonstrate that they can perform on a world-class ability as anybody else in the whole world.
Yeah.
Is Austin revered by everyone in the Walgreens community? Is he like a role model for people that say, yes, I can do this because Austin is?
Well, Austin doesn't work at a center. He works in one of our stores for 3 days a week, about half. So I think the best compliment Austin can get, he's just one of the clerks in the store.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
Wow.
does he have the ability to provide transportation for himself, or does he require public transportation?
Oh, he drives.
Oh, he drives.
It's about the same for us. But driving is about the same as graduating summa cum laude from MIT.
Wow.
Wow.
So we never thought he would drive, but he drives. He drives me to the airport whenever I need to go. The experience is he'll get up early in the morning. I pay him $20, which is a real bargain.
That's incentive.
Don't tell him.
It's a bargain for him. Yeah.
That's right.
Bargain for you, I mean, incentive for him, yeah.
But he'll drive and get me there early, and every experience is the same, I'll say. And does money matter? Does the job matter? Here's the example. When he drives me to the airport, the experience is always the same. He complains about the traffic, which I think is normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we get there, and I say, Austin, you did a great job. You got me here. Got through the traffic, you got me on time. I really appreciate it, and I love you. And Austin will say to me every time, $20.
Oh, no.
He knows. He's a shrewd businessman.
That's funny. That's funny. Are there organizations, and maybe you're starting this up, that actually represent, and I already mentioned ARC in our community, they do actually represent their students. They do actually even negotiate for them when it comes to hiring as far as wages and all that. And of course they explain how they're going to get there. Most of the ones that I know do not have transportation, which is why, well, they do if a bicycle is considered transportation.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't drive themselves for the most part.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Now, it was interesting when we opened that first center, and we went big, 1 out of 3 employees.
Wow.
Earning the same pay in a mission-critical center that costs more than any center we've ever built. That was kind of unique in the world. And we thought transportation would be a huge issue, and we were prepared to deal with, and we had the bus lines, work with the city to get the bus lines to go through there.
And that was in Chicago?
That was in Anderson, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And at one time, somebody said, we ought to help the city and give them some money. And I remember talking to our counterpart in the community. I said, if we did that, we would deny the community to be part of this success. So the community figured out how to get the bus line there.
Oh, wonderful.
And then we were ready to do a big ride share program so people could carpool. But then one of the people there, one of our HR managers there, said, after time, I said, how's the transportation? She said, when you pay people a living wage, they can figure out how to get there.
That's a wonderful remark. Wow.
When when you first had the concept for this, and you had to get support from within the business to go ahead with it, were there any times when you were discouraged at all that you thought maybe this wouldn't come to fruition?
Certainly, there were those dark days, some days, and I just had to remember what was the prize if it did work. When you add up, well, first of all, from a business point of view, we did say from the get-go, same standards, side by side, same pay.
Mm-hmm.
And when we presented it to the board, it was very straightforward. This will be our most expensive building we've ever built. It will be our most efficient, our best return on invested capital, which everybody likes to hear.
Right.
Business. We're a business, not a charity. And 1/3 of the workforce will be people who have never had an opportunity to work before. And they had one question: what if it doesn't work? And I said, well, then we'll adjust like we do in all cases in business. When something's different than we hoped it would be, we adjust and we will. And they said, okay. And the only thing they've said since then is thank you.
Wow. Wow. What a great story. The book is called No Greatness Without Goodness, How a Father's Love Changed a Company and Sparked a Movement. The company would be Walgreens.
Yes.
And Randy Lewis is our guest. If you were listening, you already know that he has a son who has autism, whose name is Austin. And he is making a work environment for people like Austin so that they can have a normal wage and a normal life and some self-integrity and not be... Oh, around here, a common job might be, picking watermelons or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with picking watermelons, but there's so many other things that a person could do if that's not what they wanted to do. And I think choice is something that is part of your message as well, Randy. We do have a phone call. Do you want to take phone calls?
Sure.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for waiting, by the way. You're on the air with Randy Lewis.
Oh, good morning. I'm so encouraged. I'm blind, and I know that you all have hired blind people, too, I know, in your distribution center. And you all have inspired other companies to go ahead and hire people, too. And I know that when I lost my sight several years ago, but when I was working at Ocala with one of the HCA hospitals, they also do things to modify their workplace so that they can hire people that are handicapped. And I was really impressed about what you guys and also UPS is doing in terms of hiring people with disabilities, because as you said, with just slight modifications sometimes, there are a lot of things that people with disabilities can do with just a little bit of change in the work environment, such as maybe with the helmets and those types of things. The construction helmets. I think that some of the workers in your distribution center that I think you all have hired some blind people to work in there, and it's just encouraging to see that if given a chance, that a lot of people with disabilities can be productive citizens and can work if employees like Walgreens were willing to make a few modifications and to allow people to show what they can do in the work environment. I just wanted to call and say that I was certainly encouraged with what you all are doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
let me say one thing. We have our accommodations. We've tracked those accommodations. Most of them are paper and pencil, and it costs less than $25.
Oh, wow.
We had one young man who wouldn't come back from break on time, so he loves President Obama. So his supervisor cut out a picture of President's head with like a cartoon thing.
Uh-huh.
Says "Get back from break on time." That was his accommodation. So it's called into the creativity of everybody too. Now we have people all across the board in all kinds of jobs, doing jobs that we never would have thought. People think people with disabilities can't work overtime or not flexible. There's a saying in the autism community: once you've seen one person with autism, you've seen one person with autism. Mm-hmm. And that's the same for disabilities too. We've learned that everything's a spectrum, and you can't. And people say, well, which disabilities can you not accommodate?
Yeah.
Well, we hadn't found one yet. But we can't accommodate everybody. But guess what? Among the typically able, which is, I think, the word in the community, what they used to call normal people, but who is normal? That's where that is.
I had read some of the excerpts from your book, and your book is a lot more than this. You go on through the history of when Austin was born and the process and the realization that you and your wife had to come to, to discover that Austin did have autism.
Oh yes, I don't think we're that much different from a lot of parents. We tend to overlook things other people see because we see them through the lens of a parent. And that was the way it was with Austin. We just thought he was a little delayed. Boys are delayed. And it was, friends probably noticed it, didn't say anything, but it certainly was concerned grandparents that got us to even get him tested.
Wow.
That was a big shock.
Robin and I have a friend. He's 52 years old. He has Down syndrome, and I've known him since he was 11 or 12.
Yes.
I've known him like almost all of his life.
Yeah, 12.
And he had, until recently, he had jobs like dishwasher at a Pizza Hut or that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only real extra thing that was necessary was transportation. I mean, everything else, his work ethic was impeccable. You couldn't ask for a better employee as far as that goes.
Well, that's what we found. So we even decided to publish the data because people it's hard to believe. They don't really believe it can happen. So we called all these statisticians in. They studied 400,000 hours of work of people with disabilities without across 4 different centers, on and on and on. Performance is the same. Absenteeism is less. Retention is better. Safety is better among the people with disabilities.
The organization in town, ARC, will get a copy of your book because I'm going to buy it and bring it over there to them. There's another organization in our community called Kenny's Place. It's a nursery, and they also do what you're talking about. They hire mentally challenged, etc., and they listen all the time. In fact, we've got a plant in the studio that they brought to us as a gift. That's the healthiest plant I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's been here about 6 years now.
It survived the cold. I left it outside one day and it froze. Well, no, 1 week.
Yeah.
And I know this is Florida, and you can't imagine it freezing, but it did, and it's still alive. So.
Well, there's proof there.
Yeah.
And you also talk about Austin and his siblings in the book also, which is very touching, because you're all just one big happy family, it seems.
Well, I didn't put all the stories about the girls, how they get back at him. They've accused him for years of faking it.
Oh no!
That shows they love him.
That's funny. I love the $20 story. That's got to be a classic story. Randy, you are a very impressive guy. Thank you so much for being on the air with us today. The book is called No Greatness Without Goodness. Randy, how do we get the book?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a lot of Christian bookstores, and I think maybe in the next few weeks, maybe at a Walgreens store.
So how did a guy with a Southern accent end up in Chicago? How did that happen?
Well, life is strange. I changed jobs I lived in Dallas all my life, and I changed jobs, and I remember my wife said, we go where the whales are. The whaler's wife goes where the whales are. So the whales were in Chicago. So we thought we'd stay 5 years, and 30 years later, here we are.
Wow.
What a great interview. I believe when people do great things, it's contagious. And when people do great things, and it actually, there's a self-serving part as far as the businesses businesses benefit from this. I mean, no more than they would with an employee that wasn't handicapped, but I guess.
So, certainly. And the reason I wrote the book, because, yes, it's a story about a father who launched an initiative, but I think it's for anybody who wants to make a difference. That's the thing. It really has realized that tapping into that, people want to make a difference. Leaders need to grasp that, and followers have a lot more power than they ever think they ever imagined.
Randy Lewis,
Wow.
thank you. No greatness without goodness. I'm buying one. I'm bringing it over to ARC.
Yes.
Go to Amazon. Go to Barnes & Noble. Randy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Robin.
All right, we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A former head at the IRS could be facing more legal scrutiny with a House committee vote set for tomorrow.
Ways and Means Committee Republicans are considering referring Lois Lerner to the Justice Department, noting evidence the former head of the IRS tax-exempt division may have broken the law.
And lay out a case for how Ms. Lerner misled the committee.
House Speaker John Boehner with Fox